Hey, what's up YouTube? Pirate King Codex here. I just wanted to do a deck profile on one of the decks from Paramount War with the new leader, Smoker. Going into the release of OP-02, I wasn't really sure what I'd be playing, but then I kind of gravitated towards Smoker after testing it, and I actually ended up really liking it a lot. It's a very different playstyle from what I was doing before. I was mostly playing Kid in set 1, but with set 2 I've been kind of branching out and playing other stuff, because I'm going to highlight some different decks for the new set. I'm hoping to go through the leaders and just kind of showcase what's out there and just kind of give you a little sample of each deck. So starting out with Smoker, this is a new color to the game added for set 2. So we now have black, which is mostly going to be focusing on navy for right now. I think that'll be changing in future sets. With Smoker, it's standard 5,000 attack, 5 life leader, Dawn ×1. During your main phase, you can activate once per turn, give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 to their cost during this turn. Then if there's a character with a cost of 0, this leader gains plus 1,000 power during this turn. So this deck strategy is going to be focusing on cost reduction, and you can use that for removal, or in this case here with the leader, it's going to give you a little bit of a boost. And there's other cards that will benefit from that as well. I'll go through those here. But essentially the main goal of the deck is to get the 10 drop Kuzan on the board, so that way you'll get a -5 on your turn to all of your opponent's characters' costs, and that will help make your abilities a lot easier to activate. So it might seem like it's difficult to get your opponent's characters down to 0, but this deck has a lot of ways to kind of go around that. So this is good if your opponent has some 1-drops. So against Zoro, they're going to have a lot of 1-drops. There's a lot of searchers that are 1-drops. So if your opponent does play one of these characters, you could possibly use that to your advantage and kind of turn it back on them and give you a consistent character boost. Because they have a cheap character that you can use to increase Smoker here. So with the Dawn ×1 attached to it, plus 1,000 power, you're going to be swinging for 7 instead of base 5, just from the 1 Dawn attachment, and using this ability here. Next up we have Suru. So this is here for the 2k counter, but on play, give up to one of your opponent's characters -2 costs during this turn. So like I was just saying, there's a few cards in the deck that you can use to get the cost reduction in, but in this case here, I usually find that the Suru is better to hold as a 2k counter. We have other ways to achieve this here. Then we have Resonante, who's just going to be a cheap jump blocker. So it's a 2-drop for 2k. It has a counter on it. It's just a blocker. There's a lot of ways to remove cheap blockers, but it is good to have just in case if you need one in a pinch. And then Sengoku, another 2k counter on this one here. Dawn ×1 when attacking, give up to one of your opponent's characters -2 during this turn. It's important to note that you have to be attacking to get this. It's not an on-play effect, so it's going to be a little bit slower if you are playing it down. So I have it here for a 2k counter. I run a heavy set of 2k counters to kind of offset a lot of cards here that don't have counter on it, and you are trying to get to the 10-drop Kuzan as soon as possible. So you want to make sure that you are healthy enough before you drop it. Otherwise, you won't be able to protect yourself or the character if you get too low too early. Then Garp, another 2k counter. Dawn ×2 when attacking, K up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 0. You could play it down, and if you play it down early enough, you could KO something that's a little bit cheaper. But again, this isn't going to be one of your main forms of removal. You might want to save this for a 2k counter. We have other ways to get characters KO'd. And then Helmeppo is 2 costs for 3,000, has 1k counter. Play, give up to one of your opponent's characters -3 to the cost during this turn. So this is a card that you would likely be using in order to get a character down. So you can use this in tandem with the next card I'm going to show you, which is Kobe. But this is a pretty good reduction here. So -3 is going to get you a good amount of the way. So if you have a character that is 3 or less, when you play this Kobe, you may trash 1 card from your hand, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less. So with the Helmeppo, that'll help you get a character within Kobe range. So you could get something that is a 6 cost and put it in range for Kobe. Or, with Helmeppo, again, if you want to get something down to 0, you can use that to get your Smoker ability activated So the Helmeppo is going to help you with getting those cost reductions down. Then next up, I have 3 copies of the character Smoker. So this is a 3 cost for 4K as a 1K counter. This character cannot be KO'd by effects, so you can put it down and not expect it to get hit by a jet pistol. So that's going to be reliable. You don't have to worry about it being removed for effects like that. And then when attacking, if there's a character of cost of 0 in play, this character gains 2,000 power during this battle. So you can use this with the Smoker Leader to have a 6K body now for 3, and it can't be KO'd by effects. So you can keep it on the board and not worry about getting hit by removal. It has to be KO'd in combat. Next up, another 2K counter. So I have Tashigi here. During the main phase, you may rest this character. Give up to one of your opponent's characters -2 to the cost during this turn. Again, not a character I usually play down on the board, but it's there if you do need it. Then Kuzan, it's a 4-drop for 5K. No counter, but on play you get to draw a card, and when attacking, give up to one of your opponent's characters -4 to the cost during this turn. So this is going to be one of your primary ways of reducing the cost of your opponent's characters. So on play, he immediately gives you value by drawing a card, so he gets to replace himself. And then on subsequent turns, you can use this to bring something down to -4. So again, you can use this with Kobe, or if you have an opponent's character on the board that is cost 4 already, this will get them down to 0 for the Smoker effect to kick in. So Kuzan is good with that, and I'll go over this in a second too, but this Kuzan is also good with the 10-drop Kuzan. And one of the best blockers in the deck is the Borsolino. So this is a 4-drop for 5,000, has a 1K counter. On your opponent's turn, this character gains plus 1,000 power and cannot be KO'd by effects. It's also a blocker. So again, like the Smoker character, this is going to be a reliable character to keep on the board. You don't have to worry about it getting hit by jet pistol or other kinds of removal. So you can put it on the board and have a blocker that your opponent cannot KO outside of using battle. And then it's a 6K body on your opponent's turn, so it's a little bit harder to deal with. So your opponent can't just swing in with the leader for 5,000. They'll have to boost it up a little bit. And then I'm only running 3 of the Sakazuki. There's an argument to be made for 4. But I think 3 is probably a good number here. Again, there's no counter on it. It's a 6 cost, so if you get too many, it can clog your hand. But when you get it on the board, it's going to be a 7K body, and on play, you may trash 1 card from your hand, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. So this will also be good with the Helmeppo. So if you get that on the board, you can bring something down by 3, and then that'll put something that's an A cost within range of the Sakazuki. So when you play this down, you can KO it. And then if you have the 10-drop Kuzan on the board as well, like I was saying before, all of your opponent's characters get -5 to their cost. And on play, you get to KO up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 0. So on play, you're essentially getting a free KO on a 5-drop. So if you use this in tandem with the Kuzan, so if you say you have a Kuzan on the board, and then you swing and bring their opponent's card down by 4. So if they have a 9-drop, that will suddenly be in range with the Kuzan Secret Rare. So you can use these together to take down something that's a little bit larger. And then for event cards, I'm running 2 of the Meteor Volcano. During the main phase, you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 1 or less. And then there's a trigger. Draw 2 cards, trash 1 card from your hand. That can come in handy sometimes, but I think it's usually better to save this as a form of removal. So if you are able to get a character down to 1, which we've talked about here, there's several ways to do that. This is going to be a way you can get rid of those characters. And then we have Impact Wave, or I believe the official card in English is Shockwave. It's a counter card for 2. Your leader or up to one of your characters gains plus 4,000 power during this battle. Then KO up to one of your opponent's active characters with a cost of 3 or less. So it's important to know that they have to be active, but this is a good way to also get rid of one of your opponent's attackers. So if they are relying on those cheap characters, you can get rid of one of their attackers right off the bat with this counter. It's going to be a 4K, which is pretty strong, so I get up to 9,000. And then on trigger, you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So even on the trigger, you get to KO something, and it does bring it up to 4 or less instead of 3 or less, and they don't have to be active for this to KO. So if your opponent had already swung out, and then you trigger this with the life, you can still KO it. Alright, let's try to get some games in here. Okay, so we have a mirror match. Alright, I'm going to keep this one. I do want to see the 10-drop Kuzan, so I will typically keep it, even though I'm going to be playing it later on. It's not important to the game plan, so I try to look for that. Okay, so he plays the Rosinante. So from here, I'm just going to swing in here. Now, typically, I like to go second with this deck. With the curve of the Dawn, you want to be playing your 4 drops on turn 2, and then usually you want to be playing on that curve. So for here, I think I'm going to just kind of with the Helmet Bow. And he's probably going to be playing 4 drops Kuzan or Borsalino. Okay. Alright, so now I am up to 5. I don't really need that, but let's just swing in for 6. Okay, he decides to counter, and then I'm going to play the 4 drop. So he's at 6 on, so he could play Sakazuki. Okay, so he attaches a Dawn, gives cost -1. Does he have a Kobe? He might have a Kobe here. That'll also leave him with 2 up for Shockwave. Okay. So alright, there's the Meteor Volcano. Okay, so I'm just going to counter out of this because I have a lot of 2Ks here. Okay, he passes over. Okay. So I could get my Sakazuki on the board, which would be nice to have that before he gets a bigger body on his side. My only target would be the Rosinante, really. Not really worth it to KO the Siru. So first let's use leader ability. Get the +1K here. I'm going to get rid of one of my 2K counters and just KO this. And swing in for 7. Okay, so he's going to block. Probably has a 2K here. Okay, pass turn. So he's at 8. He's going to get to 10 first, which is also a good reason why you want to go second. But let's see if he has the 10 drop. Okay, so he does have the 4 drop, so he's getting set up for putting down the 10 drop. Okay, I'm going to take this one here. And I'm not going to use the trigger. Okay, so now a second 10 drop. And I don't really have a way to get rid of his Guzan here. And he does have 2 open for probably the Shockwave. So what I can do is this. And I'm going to leave the 4 open for the Borsalino. And maybe 2 for make him think of maybe a Shockwave. So let's just swing in here for 8. So if he does counter with the Borsalino, he'll need 2 cards. Okay, so he takes that one. And go 8 for here as well. Okay, so he takes that. I'm not sure if he's maybe digging for the 10 drop if he doesn't already have it. Okay, I'm going to end turn here. So now he can't KO the Borsalino with the 10 drop. And he could swing into the Sakazuki. It's already tapped, so it's not really the best target, but it's one less attack he'd have to try to get through. Okay, so he attaches a Don, so that means he doesn't have the 10 drop here. But it looks like he's trying to get it down here, so he could have removal for the Sakazuki. So I think I'm just gonna counter. Actually, no. Yeah, I think I will just take this one. Okay, and we have the trigger. Yeah, we're gonna use this here and kill the Guzan. Okay, so now we can get rid of the Sakazuki using the Kobe. And with these 2 Guzans, I could go back-to-back Guzan and essentially KO pretty much any character that's not immune to effects. So if he tries to play something a little bit bigger, I'll have the option to KO it. If he tries to play his own 10 drop Guzan, I'll be able to get rid of his. So I'm going to take this one here. Okay. So he leaves 4 open. Okay. So I'm going to swing in here. He's probably just going to block with the Borsalino, but we'll see. Okay, so he ends up countering. Maybe he's afraid that I was going to swing back with my own Borsalino. But we are going to play the 10 drop, and I'm just going to KO the Garp. And I'm going to end turn. So now it's going to be a little bit harder for him to deal with this 10k body swinging in. Okay, so he is not attaching a Don, so he probably has his own Guzan here. I'm just going to counter out with the Kobe. Okay, so there's his, and that's basically his entire turn. And now I get to retaliate with my own again. But let's just swing in here and see what happens. Okay, so he decides to block this time. So I'll get rid of his Kuzan and then swing into his Borsellino. Okay, and pass turn. Alright, so he decides to concede. At that point, it's going to be hard to come back. Pretty much had a good game board there. It's hard to deal with the two Kuzans back to back, and if you try to swing in here, I have a blocker still. I have some counters. So yeah, even though he went second, he didn't see his 10-drop Kuzan, but that's how important the Kuzan is, because once you get this online, you're basically going to be able to use those KO effects a lot more easily, and next turn I would have been able to reliably use the Smoker ability to just get a free 1k. But yeah, that's basically the mirror match. It really does come down to who can get their 10-drop Kuzans down first. So it's usually going to be a race for that. Alright, let's try another one. Okay, this time is Ivankov. I'm gonna mulligan this one. Okay, so we have some 4-drop Kuzans, we have a Borsellino. Alright, so he's going first, so that'll help us with our Dawn curve. And this matchup can be a little tricky if the opponent gets too many of the 6-drop Luffys and they keep bouncing your Borsellinos. It's really hard to get them to stick at that point. One time I went through 4 Luffys and I couldn't get through all of them. I got rid of 3, but then the 4th one just stuck on the board and I couldn't come back from that. Okay, I don't really have anything to play here, so just going to pass turn. Okay, so he does have his stage on board. He has a Prona, so he can set up his next few turns. With the Ivankov, it's really important to try to work around with what you have coming up, so that way you can try to take advantage of using the cards as needed, so that way you can draw your cards at the end of the turn if you have to, so you know what to discard, so you know what's coming up, so that way you can use the Ivankov character effect. You want to essentially set yourself up so you can strategically discard your cards as needed. Okay, so he swings in for 7. Don't really want to... I guess I could use the Impact Wave here and just get rid of the Perona. There's not going to be too many other targets except for maybe like Doflamingo. So yeah, let's just do that. Okay. So from here, let's just swing in for 5. Probably just count with the 2k. Alright. I'll play Kuzan so I can draw a card. Alright, there's the 10 drop. That's what I want to see. Then end turn. So once I can get this 10 drop on the board, I'm going to be able to handle a lot of his bigger characters a lot more easily. A lot of the characters are going to be 5 or less, but then you have your 6 drop Luffy and the 7 drop Ivankov. So he has 3 open, so he's probably going to play Doflamingo here. So I can counter out of this one, so I think I will. Okay. Alright, so he has the Boa, so he's playing the Boa version. Okay. So I have 6 to work with, so that leaves 2 open for counter for a shockwave. I could swing in here and reduce the boa down to 0, but I want to save the Kuzan here. It could get bounced by Luffy, so I'll probably play the second one too. So let's just swing in for 5 with leader. And so he decides to take that. So the next one will probably be countered. He's probably expecting that one. So what I'm going to do is just play a second one here. And end turn. And the great thing about the shockwave is I can KO the blocker. So if my opponent's going to rely on the blocker, I have a way to get rid of it. We have to be careful about using them too often, so that we run out of counter power. But if you have a decent sized attack coming in, yeah, that's good. You can use the shockwave for it. But I have used it before just to basically get a KO on the blocker if it was important enough. But it's good to have the options. So in 2 turns, we'll be able to play the 10 drop. Okay, so here comes Luffy. He's going to bounce one of the... so he's not going to bounce one of the Kuzans. Okay. So he's probably going to want to bounce a Borsalino if I put it down. So I could put that down to kind of bait him into dropping some cards and leave my Kuzans on the board. Okay, so I have 8 to work with. I do want to leave the 2 open. I attach one here. So I really have more like 6 to work with. So I think I'm going to put down the smoker. Actually, I do want to put down the Borsalino, so that way the Luffy will take the bait on that. Okay. So we'll do 4 there. 4, 5, 6. So go this way. Okay. I'm just going to swing for 7. See if he decides to block or counter here. Okay, so he decides to just take that. He's probably really afraid of these Kuzans, but I'm not swinging them yet. Alright, so I'm just going to pass turn. So the 2 open for an impact wave. So if Luffy does swing in, he can hit with double attack. So he'll want to bounce the Borsalino. We have to attach enough Don, so I can't counter it. Okay, so that's also another option. So he could just play the Mihawk and get rid of the Borsalino altogether. So I'm just going to take this one. Because his Luffy can only swing for 7 here. And that's the first life, so it's not that big of a deal. Okay, I'm just gonna use this smoker. Having it be a 1K, it's good for that if you just need a counter. And now for this, if he bounces one of the Kuzans, okay, I guess he decides not to. He probably just won't wait to draw a card. But I am going to play the Shockwave and just get rid of the Boa. Okay, now I'm at 10 Don, so I can actually get rid of his Mihawk. This is why the 4-drop Kuzan is really good to keep for the 10-drop Kuzan. So I can go in here. Swing for 5. And we're just going to get rid of the Mihawk. And I think I'm just going to swing in here again. So that way he doesn't swing at life so much. Because I am probably going to take the double attack next turn. Okay, so now he's down to 1 life. Okay, so he does have the Boa. So he has a blocker now, but I do have the Kobe. So he probably would have been better off bouncing one of the Guzans last turn. So that way I didn't have as many attacks coming through. So now he has to decide if he wants to clear my board or try to go for life. With the Luffy, he's probably going to at least get the 2 life here. Then it's going to be easier to counter out of the next attacks. And then with the Kuzan, since I already have the 4 drops on the board, I can discard this other one here. There's no counter on it. Yeah, so I want to get rid of this Boa. You could play another blocker. Ivankov has a lot of options for blockers. Okay, so he's going pretty much all in here. So is he going to bounce on the Kuzans this time, or just let it stay on the board? Alright, so he's coming in for 13. I'm just going to take that one. No trigger. No trigger. But now I have quite a few 2Ks in hand. So the next few will be a little bit easier to counter. Alright, so he's swinging in this time. I'm just going to let this one go. Okay, so he's going to swing in here. I'm going to counter this one. Okay. So he drew 2 new cards. I'm not sure if they have 2K counters. So he has a blocker on the board. First things first, I want to get rid of that. So we'll use card action, trash the Kuzan, get rid of the Boa. And then I can use leader ability. Okay, he's just going to concede. Yeah, because he didn't really have a way out of there. So from there, I can use the Smoker leader ability to bring the Luffy down to 0. So that's already 7. And then if I attach 2 more Dawn, that would bring him up to 9. Swing in. He would take that one. And then that gives me another 4 Dawn to work with. Swing for another 9. He could counter out of it, but then I have the 10 drop Kuzan swinging for 10. He wouldn't have a way to counter out of that. So that's basically the game at that point. So yeah, that will do it for this game. Okay, let's try to get one more in here. So Law is going to be pretty tricky. There's a lot of characters, so it's going to be hard to keep up with the removal. But let's see how this goes. So I'm just going to keep this one. Okay, so he plays Nami. I don't have a turn 1 play here. Just going to pass turn. Okay, swinging for 7. I think I'm just going to counter out here. Okay, he's already got a blocker on the board. Let's see. So let's swing in here, see if he takes it or if he blocks. Alright, so he's going to block it. That's one less character to worry about. Let's just put down the Kobe, get rid of the Kuzan, and we'll get rid of the Brook. Alright, so I want to try to keep this board as clear as possible. Keep the Nami. Could be a little risky because he might have ways to boost it. But it's also 1-drop, so I can use that for my leader ability. Okay, so he's got Chopper. Okay. I'm going to swing in here. See if he decides to counter. Okay, he takes that one. I'm going to play the Sakazuki. And end turn. So I could have gotten rid of the Chopper, but the Zoro is going to be a bigger threat. The Chopper will probably go down at some point. See, I'm not as worried about that, but the Zoro can swing back. Okay, so he's going to just reuse that Nami. So he's not getting a new character on the board. Okay, so now he's getting quite a few blockers. So now it's a different game. But now I can swing in a few times here. So first, let's just activate leader ability. So he has the law, so we're going to want to swing big enough so that he'll block with the law. But I'll leave 2 open, so that gives me 5 to work with. Okay. Okay, so let's swing in for 8. So if he decides, I'm sorry, 7. Okay, this time we'll swing for another, so we'll swing for 8. Alright, he blocks that one. Swing for another 8. And he blocks that one. So now the board's getting clear. Okay. So probably Jet Pistol here. Nope, Drake. Okay, so he's going to try to just swing into the Sakazuki. So I can only get up to 8, so can't really defend that. But the good thing is now that I'm at 10, I can KO this law. Okay, and then swing in for 5. He takes that. Okay. And pass turn. Okay, so he's at 5 characters. He has Rush Zoro, so he could use leader ability to drop that down. Not too many of the OP-02 cards here. So far, just the Film Zoro. Okay, swing in for 7. I'm going to counter out of this one. I'll counter out here too. That's going to be at no cards in hand. Don't want to get too low in life, especially with this many characters on the board. But yeah, I'm gonna have to take this one. So there's a 2 open. I can play the Zoro. I'm just gonna play the Drake. Okay, and I can counter out of that one. Okay. So I can start clearing his board. I know he has that Rush Zoro, so I gotta be careful about that. Don't want this Drake to stay on board. I can probably counter out of 1 or 2 of the other attacks. But I don't know if I can clear out his board and his hand quickly enough before he can rush me down. But let's see what happens. And so we'll activate the ability here. So I know he has a Zoro. It was the... Yes, that 1 Zoro. Okay. So I know he can't counter more than this, so... Yep, just swing in here. And... I'm just waiting for 8. And I got nothing else, so I'm just going to pass turn. Okay, so he's going after the Kuzan. Okay, so he swings for 8. If he attaches another 3, he can still do it, and then he'll have 2 open for a leader build. He can still swing in for another attack, but I think I'd rather have him commit more to this Kuzan. Okay. Yeah, this is the point where there's just too many characters for me to try to remove. Okay, I have a blocker. Oh, now I got 2. Hopefully that should help. Okay. Now I have 2 characters on the field that he can't get rid of. And I could also use them as attackers if needed. But it might be kind of asking a lot to try to get through 2 life and those cards in hand. Okay, so there's Maki. Now we're gonna pump up the Nami. Could block this one. He still has the Drake. Yeah, so we have to take this one. Okay, so he gets to pump up the other Nami. Now let's swing in for 8. I'm gonna have to block this. Okay, gonna have to block this one too. Alright, so not really winnable situation here. Could play Rosante, trash the Tashigi, use the Kobe. Yeah, I won't have a way to get rid of all of his characters and keeping them mocking on the board to make the Nami stronger. Yeah, I don't really have a way out of here. Okay, and that's gonna be game. Yeah, didn't really have a way out of that one. So, like I said, going into it, Law's a tough matchup. There's too many characters that come onto the field. So even though I was being pretty good about proactively going out the board, eventually I just ran out of resources in order to do anything about it. And then I couldn't really do anything to protect the 10-drop Kuzan. Yeah, there's just too many characters to deal with. But that gives an idea of how Smoker runs. There's other options too. You know, there's like the 5-drop Hina. There's the double attack Smoker, so similar to the 3-drop Smoker character. You know, it can't be killed by effects, so that's an option as well. But I've opted to go for more of the 2K heavy route, so that way I can counter more aggressively and try to stay ahead on my life early on, so I can try to establish a board with the 10-drop Kuzans. But that is going to be it for today. Be sure to bring along all of your hopes and dreams, and I'll see you in the next video.